Okie dokie. Echo, turn on craft light. Oh, girl. Looky there. Looky there. Wow. Oh, girl. Okay. Okay. Hey, David, how we doing? Just about to start the brown on this guy for the video. All right, here we go. So our little fella here is all whited up, and now we are going to do some darkening in these grooves to help give them a little bit more 3D pop. To do that, we're going to be dry brushing some brown paint into the bottom of the grooves. You do not have to use brown paint. You can use wood stain, you can use dark shoe polish. So long as you've got something that darkens, that is all you need. But the main trick of this is to, rather than just leave a line of paint straight down here, we're going to do something called dry brushing, which gives us a little bit of dark, and then it kind of fades out back to white as it hits the end of the curb. So to start off, I'm going to show you what I don't mean. So here is some brown paint. This is the same brown paint that you can get in these little things for about 50 cents a piece. I just have more of it because I make a hell of a lot more pumpkins. So here's how I don't want to do it. And that's just to get paint on my brush and paint a line. Bear in mind, you can do this if the dry brushing method seems kind of and you don't get it and you don't want to care about it. This will look okay. But to dry brush, what we're going to do is get some paint on our brush, have a surface, piece of paper, piece of newspaper. I'm just using a paper plate. And then we're going to get most of that paint back off. And I'll know it's back off when my paintbrush really isn't going very crazy anymore. And then I'm going to start painting into a section here, and where I apply heavily, it'll be dark, but towards the edges, it'll be kind of light. So here is the difference between these two tones. So here I just have straight dark. Here I have kind of a varying dark light. The reason for this is that when we go over it with the orange, it's just going to add a shadow to the back of our deep grooves. And we want a shadow rather than a full blast of dark. So it's just Add some paint to the brush, get most of that paint back off, and swaggle it into the grooves. You can also go up on the edges a little bit to add a little bit more fade if you want. So I've done that right there. If you want to spread out the effect and get a more gradual orange to brown darkening, but you don't have to. This is based on how much you want to do. And what you're getting here is kind of a poor man's airbrush effect. So I've got fade to the outside, darker to the center. I'm just going to go through and do all the grooves on the pumpkin this way. See you at the end. Doing pretty good, David. I'm guessing that I'll be in the fast forward bit of this by the time I get round to editing. Oh, there is one point I should bring up on here. I should also mention, you're going to have the deep grooves and you're going to have the shallow grooves. The deeper grooves, you can add a little bit more paint on because they are going to be really, really, really slurpy and hungry for paint. But the shallow grooves, you probably want to have your brush be a little bit drier than normal. If you're having any trouble differentiating as you go around your pumpkin, just start with the deep grooves, practice on the painting technique from there, and then go back and do your stuff with the shallow grooves. So be aware. All right. Yeah, dry brushing is great, especially if you don't have an airbrush. Just a simple, easy fade method. Ooh. I am perhaps going a little bit heavier than usual with this dry brush, just because I'm kind of anxious. I want to get this this project set, edited, and out there, because a lot of people are starting to think about their September projects. It'll take me a couple of days to edit this all together anyway. I do miss my airbrush though, not gonna lie. This is much easier and faster with an airbrush. Hmm. Hey, editing Matt, I hope you're watching the sound because you're about to drop some knowledge. So here we go. As soon as I finish this, another thing I should probably mention is the reason that we're doing this in this order is that we're going to cover this with the orange, and it's easier to cover a mistake with something else than to putting something that might be a mistake on the top. So it's just easier to recover if anybody has a goober up in this stage first. That's why I do this before I do the orange. All right, editing Matt, we're through. Yeah, amen to that. I just like working with the airbrush. It's so zen. Mm. Hey, fuzzy cat. Oh, good girl, Madge. You're a sweetheart. Yes. Good girl. Oh, you want butt scritches. And we'll give you a few butt scritches, but we're in the middle of a project. Hmm. Okay. Another thing that's really nice about dry brushing is that it tends to dry very, very fast. The next thing I'm going to do, because I plan on putting a green stem on this guy, you can make your stems brown, green, or obviously whatever color. But if you want this same sort of darker areas recessed effect, I'm just going to go and dry brush my brown into these dark areas in between my my stem rift outs as well. So I'm going to be going right in there. And another spot that I'm going to hit to differentiate my stem from my pumpkin a little bit is just a bit around the bottom of my stem bulbs here. I'm going to kind of try to outline them and give myself some color differentiation zone from the pumpkin itself. So that's an option that you've got as well if you want to go that way. Ooh. And this is one of the reasons I recommended not to go too crazy with your stems first time out, because sometimes painting around the back of them is a real pain. But that's FYI. Found a spot I missed. All right. Okay, I am pretty pleased with that. First thing I'm going to do is show you guys close up about what we have here. There's all these fades going through. I've got an encirclement of the stem. I'm down to the grooves of the stem. And I know the first time that I saw techniques like this, I was going nuts, going, they're wasting so much paint. Well, I have used less than the top of a capful on this. So don't sweat the paint wasting on this method. You're going to waste so little, it's going to be ridiculous. All right, that being done, the next thing I'm going to rock and roll with this guy is I'm going to paint the inside edges of around his mouth and teeth yellow, because when you cut into a pumpkin, you've got the orange on the outside, but then the inside pulp is pretty much almost entirely yellow in color. So I'm going to add that next, just before I go around and orange the snot out of him. This will also give the dry brush on the outside a little bit extra time to dry up before I go into it. Let's find a brush I like here. I'm just going to take this yellow to the edge of where I expect the orange to be. So he'll look quasi-authentic, and who knows, he might even deceive some people until they look a little closer to see that he is not veggie flesh and bone. Should also mention, these are the exact same 50-cent cheapo paints that you can get at most craft stores, and probably a few dollar stores as well. Hi, fuzzy cat. Oh, there's my little snaggletooth bear. Would you like another ball? Huh? Sam's been wanting a lot of attention tonight, so I keep foisting him off on aluminum foil balls. Okay. There's his happy little face. Part of the reason for doing this now rather than after the orange is the fact that the orange is going to cover up just about everything. And it's easier to cover up a mistake with orange than to try to wash off a yellow mistake on top of everything else. Same with the brown. It's much easier to recover from it first and just cover it up with orange than the other way around. Hey, Fuzzy Cat. Okay. I am going to give this guy just a few minutes to dry, maybe 10, 12 in front of a fan. And then when I make sure that he is where I want him to be, I'm going to come back and splash him with some orange. I'm lying, of course. What I'm going to do is blast him with a heat gun for a little while, and then I'll be absolutely sure that it's dry. That's a total lie. I'm lying to my audience. I mean, the effect is pretty much the same. 10, 12 minutes in front of a fan, or 5, 6 minutes with a heat gun. And actually, I feel better about that. Just don't want to drag any two-tone stuff away. Although I'm sure all the dry brushing is dry, I still don't want to drag any two-tone stuff away. Oh, I missed a spot. I better leave that in there. I love these happy little guys. So much fun. There we go. Nobody saw that. Let's break in a new brush in honor of our little friend. Oop. Somehow that was still recording for some reason. There we go. It's time for my favorite part. Let's bring him to life. Once again, cheap orange paint. This one is Apple Barrel Pumpkin Orange 20470E. But any orange paint is absolutely fine. So our dark areas will highlight from underneath the orange coat and give that surface a little bit more depth of field and variety. I'll be going around doing mostly the top. I'll probably let it dry for a little bit before I hit the bottom edge, just so I don't have to worry about having spots to grip things and where things are dry versus where things may still be wet. I'm going to take the paint on the top pretty much all the way up to that little half-tone blurring, so that when I transition to green, be a bit of a fade between the two colors. I am just flinging droplets with this brush. And at the border, the yellow and the orange here, I'm not taking too much in the way of special efforts. I just want to make sure that where one stops, the other starts. There may be some white spots. I just want to make sure I eliminate those, but not going crazy trying to make sure it's 1000% integrated. One spot that you might have some trouble is that if you come across the eyes like this also does have the same effect that you can get if you were cleaning off a paintbrush. And so if you come across the eyes in this direction or any edge in this direction, be careful because your brush may shed some paint and send a globule dripping on down. So be careful of that. Sometimes it can be easier to paint towards any opening in the eyes or nose to minimize that effect. I love this part. Just checking to see if my little guy there was safe enough to dry, or was dry enough on the back that I could tip him forward without a problem to try to catch and chase any of the white spots that might be down here. And he was dry enough, so I did. Another thing to take care of is at these edges, if you're moving your brush along and it hits the edge, the brush may snap forward and fling some paint across to your opposite side. This really isn't a huge problem, but just be aware that it may happen for your information. Okay. I want to give this little guy some time to dry on everything we've got in front, but where he is now, it's how he's looking. Not too bad at all. There will always be a few leftover spots that you missed. It happens all the time. Just try to find the bigger ones, give them a quick once over. And if you've got that, then you're good. Don't kill yourself trying to find every little spot where the brush didn't quite catch things. So we'll put him down here and give him a little time to dry. And then we'll finish up his back little section and start his stem. How we doing, Rob? What's up? And Gerardo, how we doing? Buenas noches. Just finishing up the stuff for our little recording guy. It looks like one of my cameras is stuck. Yes. And it's been stuck for a while. Let's see if I can find that one. Media source. Is there a refresh? HD webcam, e-meet. Da, 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 da. Huh. This is odd. Yeah. I'm always just showing off. Always. Let's see. Oh, that's the text. That's that camera. Weird. All right. Let's see if we can. Yeah, it's the classic stuff happening to me. Oh, that's the one. And that's the one that works. Get covering that one. There. Okay, good. And that should work. Yay. Oh, crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. I'm glad it's now at least, thank heavens, it's an easy fix. Nice, simple, nothing. If we were an XSplit, my whole system would have exploded. Do a quick little video cheat. Like that spot a little more covered. There we go. I'll blast them with the heat gun just a little bit. Because we can. Sorry. Just move my brush and orange out of the path of the heat. Someday they'll come up with some sort of instant color chemical. It will be like digital and nanites and crap. And you'll be able to produce it by the gallon from some sort of miraculous machine in your garage. But I will give this guy an overnight before I urethane or Krylon him. I do have a much fancier art space now, though. I have my All Hail the Pumpkin King thing on there, and it occurs to me that there we go. Yes, my new Pumpkin King thing. And I have a second one over where the double toilet in trouble used to be. But there's a lot more room. I'm so glad I rearranged things. This is absolutely kick-ass. I'm stupid happy. Okay. I'll just hide that behind me. As far as anyone knows, I just let it sit there for 20 minutes. All right. I'm wondering if I can get this guy done by the 5-hour mark. Come see us today at 5-hour Pumpkin. Makes a heck of a slogan. All right. So there's that extra spot all patched up and set. We're going to let that continue to dry, and as that happens, we're going to work on the stem. I am not going to do anything crazy fancy with the stem because this is on my first pumpkin. Just going to grab some green and give it some color around the dark spots. Thinking a slightly smaller brush for a bit more control is called for here. Perfect. And it's already got green on it. By now you can probably guess the kind of paints we're using. Cheapo craft store acrylics still. And ideally, I just don't want any white spots down there from the from unpainted base coat. And you can even use a dry brush extension from the green to deal with that if you need to. And what I mean by that is you can just get most of the green off of your brush and then give that area a swizzle over so that the orange and green start to meld a little bit. And any white spots that are in there are pretty much gone. There's also a spot where you have to worry about your brush flicking off flecks of paint as you go over the ridges, because if you do and they go spattering, they'll go spattering onto your orange. You can always cover it later with a little bit more orange, but you might not want to, and it's a trifle annoying to fix. So just be careful your brush and make sure you don't go flicking bits of paint where you don't want that color. And this is part of that problem with complicated stem shapes. Sometimes painting up over and around them becomes a little bit more troublesome than you might have first thought. Okay, I'm most of the way there with that stem, but right around the blending point between the pumpkin and the stem, there's a lot of little white spots that I didn't quite hit. So I'm going to use that dry brush blending here. I'm going to get most of the green off of this brush, and then I'm going to take this mostly dry brush and feather it over that area, leaving just a green dusting that should cover up the white as it blends itself into the orange. And it's not going to be perfect. This is all about first pumpkin, not using crazy stuff like fancy airbrushes and whatnot to take care of tiny little issues. This is just fun and mache. Cool. All right, for the most part, that's our happy little guy. And here you can pretty much be done and happy. Except there's still a little white spot. Or you could go chasing down every last little nitpicky flaw, but I don't recommend you do that because it's not as much fun. But I can't help it. I've been doing this too long to not go chasing bits. Okay, there's our happy little guy. And at this point, you could be absolutely done. You could put them on a mantle and or whatever. Throw a little LED in them. And you could be set. But we really should talk about a couple of things. First off, maybe you made a paint choice that in retrospect was not so hot. For me, I'm not a huge fan of the green I just used for that stem. To me, it's too dark the whole way around. And another thing to consider is after you've got him this way, even if he's done, sorry, my little friend, but maybe somebody goes zooming through the house with a sharp edge thing and we catch a scratch. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh my God. So that is a possibility. Granted here, sorry, little guy, no biggie. But you should consider sealing your pumpkin with something, be it polyurethane. I usually use spar varnish, but it's stupid expensive. And possibly like Krylon makes a really good spray coat glaze that you can get in clear gloss, matte, or semi-gloss. But I will show you guys a little bit of final coating stuff on our guy as well, so that terrible tragedy, bad thumbnail, never happens to any of your pumpkins. And I'll also show you again how to brighten things up darken things down because I want to brighten up that stem. It's too dark. So give him some drying time, and then we'll come back to it. Hello, hello. Where is my? There we go. How's it going, Stephanie? Oh, we're just over the 5-hour mark. How's your evening going? I'm going to do a quick chat check just to make sure my Twitch stuff is coming through. So don't be surprised if a weird message suddenly pops up. Okay, it worked on Twitch, but there it is. Good. Fantastic. I'm having a wonderful time, honestly. I'm doing my absolute favorite part of pumpkining, which is getting the orange everywhere. It's a means where, you know, you've been working on this thing for a while, and, you know, it's been a lump of clay. It's been a pumpkin textured lump of clay. And only now, does it finally do its thing. And get cool. And as soon as this guy hits completely done, I'll also be able to start doing the video editing. And I can start working on the other two for this project. They're going to require a little bit more time jumpy skippy, but yeah. I was really kind of hoping to have him all completely set tonight. Come to think of it, I'm going to blast him with some more heat gun. Because I do want to brighten up that stem. It's just way too dark, in my opinion. We'll hit it with a dry brush yellow, make it pop a little bit more. But otherwise, he's looking pretty standard pumpkin-y. The grooves are groovy. The face is facey. Just needs a seal. And I left a fair few mistakes in here because this one is a my first pumpkin video. I don't want to show people something that they can't ever hope to hit with their own capacities. So I've got a few little white specks flecked around here. I've got some odd coloring on the stem. Normally I'd consider going back and fixing that up or doing a dry brush black. Until I'd take my airbrush, I'd do a black in between the creases of that stem, but not on a first pumpkin video. It's nothing worse than watching something, have somebody go through it, seeing what they come up with. It looks absolutely perfect. And then they're standing there going, and now you try it. And if yours doesn't come out that same way, you kind of feel a little bit like, yep, I told you I couldn't do it. So we'll see if we can help people avoid that that fate. I'll probably hit this guy with some polyurethane. All set and done. I like the spar varnish, but God, that stuff's expensive. Polyurethane's a little bit cheaper. I'm also going to give them a complete overnight to dry before I do polyurethane stains and sealers. All right, it's enough heat gun. Give that some evaporation time. Polyacrylic would work, but right now that stuff is stupid expensive too. I got like a, I got a where I still have the frozen camera on my monitoring screen. Let me pop back. Here we go. So I have a this sized container of the polyacrylic, and it cost me like 15 bucks, which, mind you, is more than enough to do this kind of pumpkin. But that's a kind of expense I just don't think anybody should be worrying about. You can sometimes get polyurethane from a dollar store in this size container. And the Krylon spray, you could get that for like $3, $4, $5, and that would do it just fine. No problem at all. I'm wondering why that camera source froze on the monitoring screen. Whee! It's working now, though, yay! And I'm also wondering why the left side camera is so much more than the other one. I'm gonna play with that real quick. Oh yeah, that's the one. Let's go filters. Let's do some color correction. Let's up the saturation a little bit. So I'm gonna try to make these a little bit. Oh my God. All right, stupid saturation. That's roughly the same. Oh, let's lowering the gamma correct is a nice bit there. We can also put up the contrast and lower the gamma a little bit more. That's looking a little bit more alike. I don't want to drop the brightness. Keep that right where it's supposed to be. Brightness says 0. The other thing I have is hue shift, but I don't want that to be all weird colors. So yeah, we'll do that. Now those two cameras look a little bit more alike, a little less weirdly washed out. They look good to you guys? Ooh, pardon. I wonder if I can. Sorry about that. Just trying to get it fixed. My screen there's got the locked view. Good. Glad that's better for you. Oh, didn't like having that washed out look on one and not on the other one. Oh. All right, we should be good to hit this with some dry brush yellow. Let's find a good brush for it. This one's not great, but I think it's going to be one of the better ones for this. And I'm going to throw these two in the sonic cleaner later. There we go. All right. If I used this for anything recently. All right, let's go back to the camera. Enable preview. If that's pointed at you, then that should be pointed at the other camera. There we go. Perfect. Here we go. Get our yellow ready to go here. All right. All right. Correcting color issues. So, as I just mentioned, I don't really like this green. It's too flat green. And the brown stuff that I put in the middle there to make the ruts darker, it's darker, but it's not noticeably darker from the rest. So what I'm going to do is do a quick technique to make all the raised edges pop. And that's the same thing I showed you earlier with this brown, and that's dry brushing. You can lighten or darken just about anything using this technique. And all I'm going to do is give this stem a little bit of dry brushed yellow only on the raised edges to make it pop a bit more. So I'm going to get most of the yellow off of this brush. I'm just going to feather this mostly dry brush with some yellow back and forth over this. And any area that's raised up will take on the yellow, and any area that's in a rut in between won't be able to get any of it. So this will brighten up all my raised edges. And if you're in a similar spot where something is too light or too dark, if it's too dark, you can dry brush a brown or black onto it. If it's too light, well, if it's too dark, you can dry brush a white or yellow or other bright color on top of it. If it's too light, then you can dry brush I am completely screwing this up. If it's too light, then you can dry brush a brown or black or dark color or a gray over it. And that will help to even that out. So if I wanted to do this fully, I could dry brush a black into the creases, and then I could dry brush the yellow over the highlights. But this is a first pumpkin. I'm not looking to do crazy stuff. Just saying, hey, this is an option you've got. And it's the same technique from earlier. So nothing special, nothing crazy. Just looks too dark, so dry brush yellow to brighten it up. Besides, it's supposed to be kind of a happy pumpkin. I don't want super dark colors all over him. I want him to be bright. Bright and pleased. Nope. I forgot something. Let's give ourselves 2 minutes for that. Well, I set it for 3. And if you see me hit something with my finger, that just means that that area got a little too much paint, and I'm using a finger smudge to smooth it all over the place. There. Now it's not so dark. That's brightened up a lot. There's that stem after a hit of yellow, just to brighten it up. And with that, our little guy is pretty much set, apart from doing some sealing. So I'm going to let him dry completely overnight, so I know there's no chance of mixing any paints. One of the problems of dry brushing too early, if I had not let this stem start to really dry, then chances are I would start getting mixed green and yellow into my paintbrush. And that almost was starting to happen here, but the paint was really dry, so no problem. So never dry brush too early onto a surface that you want to change. But we'll let him dry overnight completely, and then we will seal him up. Oh, he looked great. You're going to be a cute little showstopper. Fantastic. Could use a trifle less paint, but whoopty frickin' do. Good. All right, how long have I been streaming? I suppose I should put some sort of counter on that. To say, hey, by the way, this is how long you've been doing stuff. I'm gonna power off our GoPro. Twitch. How long has this idiot been on? Let's find out. 1 hour and 34 minutes. At least Twitch is keeping an eye on it. All right, what else do we have to do? I've got those 2 guys who are the next phase of the project. The nice thing is once I seal this guy, then I can call it as, okay, it takes exactly this much time to make this guy. And with the other 2, I'm going to have to bounce the clocks around. I'm not looking forward to that, to be perfectly honest. Takes 3 hours and 50 minutes to get to that stage that they're at. And then I'm going to start doing other sculpts on them. And then I'm going to have to be hauling that clock off the wall and flippy flopping it. Ugh. No, no, no. We got Crown Project. We got Tombstone. We got Kit Kat behind me. And we got Smile-It-On Skull. This guy I think I'm going to take downstairs, though, and spray a bone color on him. Because otherwise right now he's way too rough and raw. And then we'll grab the airbrush and we'll hit all the crazy spots to make him look cool. And probably hang him down in the haunt somewhere like that. Kind of sideways so you can sit to Smile-It-On Skull. Lots of crazy things to do. All right, I am probably going to call it for the evening. This is a good spot. And yeah, glad we're almost set with the videos, and then we can go on to mad crazy projects. But we're also approaching October, and at that point, any project starts becoming a rush, and I don't want to rush anything. So we'll see how active we stay during that time frame, because we got so much stuff to put out. Yikes. Right. All right. That's not going to want to stay. All right. You are being rude tonight. So rude. Okay. All right, everybody. Have a fantastic and wonderful evening. I hope all your projects are going well. And I will catch you the next time. Until then, stay safe, stay happy, and keep your pumpkins shining bright. Night, gang.